This story is titled, "Wife Smirked, I'm Pregnant, but It's Not Yours," and demanded alimony. I just nodded and let her think she won. Then I made her entire world collapse with a single envelope. Hey everyone! Before we jump into today's video, I need your help. We've noticed the channel is losing some traction, and subscribing is one of the best ways you can support us. It's quick, free, and it helps us keep bringing you awesome content. Your support means the world. Let's keep this channel growing together. Thanks so much. Now let's start the video. So I guess I should start from the beginning since some of you guys asked for the full story. This is going to be long, but whatever. Me and my wife, I'll call her Jen, had what I thought was a pretty good marriage for like the first 4 years. We met back in college. She was hot as hell and actually seemed interested in my ambitions instead of just looking for a party dude. I was grinding on my business degree while she was doing education stuff. We hit it off right away. After graduation, I jumped into starting my own consulting business. Those first couple years were absolute hell. Working 80-plus hour weeks, stressing about making rent, the whole deal. Jen was actually super supportive back then. She'd bring me energy drinks at 2 a.m. when I was coding, give me pep talks when clients ghosted me, all that girlfriend of the year type stuff. She even suggested putting her teaching career on hold to support me while I build something great. I thought it was the most selfless thing ever. Looking back, I should have seen that red flag waving in my damn face. Once my business finally started making decent money, we moved into this nice house in a good neighborhood. Jen got super involved with this local church, like obsessively involved, started running women's groups, organizing charity events, constantly posting Bible quotes on her Instagram, always preaching about family values and marriage sanctity and shit. But around year 4, shit started feeling off. It started small, little things. She stopped asking me about my day. Conversations that used to flow effortlessly started feeling scripted, like she was just checking off boxes instead of actually listening. I'd ask simple things. How was Bible study? Who showed up? And she'd answer in vague, clipped responses, like she was in a hurry to change the subject. And what really caught me off guard is how she started getting weirdly interested in our finances, specifically my finances. Before, she'd been content just having access to the credit cards and never asked much about the business. Suddenly, she wanted to know exact numbers. How much did we make last quarter? She'd ask out of nowhere. What's the business valued at now? Do we have assets I don't know about? At first, I thought she was just taking an interest, maybe trying to be more involved. Then I noticed she was taking pictures of financial statements I left out. Found her going through my office files one night when she thought I was asleep. Just organizing, she claimed. But I caught her scanning documents with her phone. Things were escalating slowly, and I could feel the tension between us grow as the days passed by. Then I started noticing shifts in routine. Her schedule got weird. Random late nights, weekend trips that didn't quite add up. She'd leave the house in one outfit and come back in another, brushing it off with a casual, "Oh, I spilled something." One night I mentioned how we barely spent time together anymore. How she seemed different. She rolled her eyes. "You're imagining things," she said, tone flat. But she wouldn't look at me when she said it. Then she suddenly got super protective of her phone. She bought new clothes, sexier stuff, but I never saw her wearing them. She'd come back with stories that didn't add up, like mentioning restaurants in cities they supposedly never visited, or having receipts for only one hotel room when she claimed 4 women went. I didn't want to believe it. Thought maybe I was just being paranoid from working too much. Then one night, she came home late, her hair slightly messy, her makeup more smudged than usual. There was this faint, unfamiliar scent clinging to her. Something sharp, like a cologne I didn't own. I asked, casually at first, "Long night?" She barely looked at me as she kicked off her heels. "Yeah, Bible study ran late. Then we grabbed dinner. You know how it is." Except I didn't know how it was. Because Bible study used to end at 8, and now she was strolling in past midnight like it was normal. "Smells like someone spilled cologne on you," I said, watching her reaction. That's when her posture changed. Not guilty, defensive. She scoffed, crossing her arms. "You're seriously paying attention now? Maybe if you weren't always at the office, you'd actually know what's going on in my life." That wasn't an answer. It was a deflection, and it landed exactly how she wanted it to, twisting the blame onto me. I could have pushed, but I didn't, because I already knew how this played out. If I accused her, she'd cry, turn it into me being paranoid, me being neglectful. I wasn't about to let her spin the narrative like that. So I got smart about it. Started checking credit card statements, looking at her location history when she'd leave her iPad unlocked. Pro tip, women never log out of their accounts. And sure enough, every Tuesday and Thursday afternoon, She was at this address across town for exactly 2 to 3 hours. Some apartment complexes. One Thursday, I decided to leave work early, parked across from the complex and waited. Sure enough, at 2 p.m. sharp, Jen pulls in. 10 minutes later, this dude parks next to her. Tall guy, gym bro type, with one of those tribal tattoos on his arm. Such a fucking cliche. I took pictures of them walking in together all touchy-feely. Sitting in my car fuming, I watched my wife, a woman I had built my entire world around, walk into another man's apartment with that same flirty energy she used to have with me. My mind was screaming at me to storm up there and break the door down, but I forced myself to stay put. Because rage is loud, but revenge? Revenge is quiet. When she came out 2 hours later, I took more pictures. Watched them kiss like they had all the time in the world. And right then, something in me shut off. No more doubts. The woman I loved was dead. The guy's name was Eric. Found that out from her text messages when she left her phone to shower one night. He worked at her church as some youth pastor or something. The irony was too damn thick. I didn't confront her right away. Instead, I gathered more evidence. Screenshots of texts, more photos of their meetups, hotel receipts from her purse. Even recorded a phone call where she told this Eric dude how she was going to leave me soon, and they could finally be together. But the part that hurt the most wasn't just the cheating. It was finding out how long she had been planning my downfall. I went through her texts with Eric, and what I saw made me physically sick. This wasn't just some spontaneous affair. She had been strategizing for months. I'm waiting for the right moment. He's too busy with work to notice anything. Once I file, I'll push for alimony. He won't see it coming. She wasn't just planning to leave me. She was setting me up to bankroll her new life, laughing with her boyfriend about how she'd secure a soft landing while leaving me high and dry. That's when I decided she wasn't just walking away. I was making sure she left with nothing. I met with my business accountant after hours. Kept it casual. Thinking about restructuring a few things, I said. Over the next few weeks, I made some financial moves. Prepaid my office lease for a year, paid down business loans faster, shifted my salary so more money stayed in the company instead of showing as personal income, invested in new equipment, stuff I'd need eventually but didn't technically need right now. On paper, it just looked like my business was managing cash flow. Nothing suspicious, just normal operations that, coincidentally, made me look a lot less liquid. At the same time, I opened a new personal account at a different bank and started transferring small amounts. Nothing crazy, just enough to build a cushion she wouldn't have access to. Everything was above board, fully documented. I wasn't hiding money. I was just making sure she wouldn't get more than she deserved. And then, out of nowhere, she did me a favor. On a random Tuesday, she decided to blow everything up herself. I came home from work, and she was sitting on our couch with this weird, smug look on her face. "Mike," she said, all fake sweet, "we need to talk." I knew what was coming, but played dumb. "What's up?" "I'm pregnant." Fuck. We hadn't been together in months, so unless she was carrying baby Jesus 2.0, this wasn't mine. Before I could say anything, she twisted the knife. "But it's not yours. I've been seeing someone else. I want a divorce." She said it like she was ordering takeout. No guilt, no hesitation. 5 years of marriage, and she tossed it away like it was an expired coupon. I could feel the rage bubbling under my skin, my hands flexing at my sides. Every instinct screamed at me to throw the whole damn folder of evidence in her face to drag her through the mud right then and there. But then it hit me. This was perfect. She had no idea. No clue that I already knew. No clue that I had been watching, documenting, waiting. She thought she was in control, that she was the one ending things. I let a slow smirk. "I see." That threw her off. She was waiting for me to explode, to beg, to ask who. But I just sat there, calm as ever. She doubled down. "And just so you know, you'll still be paying me alimony. I gave up my career for you, so you owe me." I locked eyes with her. "Jen," I said, "did you really think I wouldn't know about Eric?" The color drained from her face. I chuckled. "Tuesdays and Thursdays, right? 2 to 3 hours. Same apartment complex? Same parking spot? You didn't even try to mix it up. You really thought I was that stupid?" She stiffened, jaw tightening. I don't know what you're talking about." "Oh, come on." I leaned back again, stretching my arms along the back of the couch, like I had all the time in the world. "Bible study runs late, huh? That must be a hell of a lesson plan if it requires lingerie and a hotel room." "And Eric," I continued. "Real winner you picked there. Youth pastor, huh? Wonder how his congregation would feel about him knocking up a married woman while preaching family values." Now she was fully panicking. She sat up straighter, eyes darting around like she was searching for an escape. How long were you going to play me, Jen? I asked, tilting my head. You and your little boy toy were waiting for the right moment, right? Planning to milk me dry before you ran off together? What was it you said? He won't see it coming. Her mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. I didn't let her recover. I stood up. Let me make something very clear. You are not walking away from this as the winner. You are not taking a damn thing from me that I don't let you have. She tried to recover, masking the fear with fake confidence. It's the law, Mike. You can fight it all you want, but you'll lose. I gave her the smuggest smile I've ever given anyone in my life. If you say so, I said simply. She thought she was hitting me with the ultimate power move, but really she saved me the trouble. All I had to do was smile and let her believe she was in control. Meanwhile, I was already 5 steps ahead. The next few weeks were fucking weird. Jen moved out almost immediately, right into Eric's apartment. She filed for divorce, citing irreconcilable differences. Fancy legal talk for I want to bang other dudes without feeling bad about it. I met with a bunch of lawyers. First 3 basically told me I was screwed. No-fault divorce state was like their favorite phrase or something. Apparently, the fact that my wife was banging the youth pastor and got knocked up by him didn't mean shit in court. But I kept looking until I found this attorney. I'll call him Paul, who at least didn't bullshit me. Look, man, I'm not gonna lie to you, he said. You're probably gonna have to pay her something, but we can try to minimize the damage. When I showed Paul my financial statements, he raised an eyebrow. Interesting timing on some of these business expenses and restructuring, he said, giving me a look. He didn't say more about it, couldn't legally advise me to hide assets, but I could tell he understood what I'd done. Well, this might help reduce the alimony calculation somewhat, but in this state, you're still looking at significant payments. That's when the wheels started turning. The courts might not give a shit about her cheating, but her holier-than-thou church buddies definitely would. I decided to play it cool for the divorce stuff, though. Let her think she was winning. Give her just enough rope to hang herself. Court day was surreal. I showed up in my best suit. Jen came in with her fancy lawyer, wearing this modest outfit like she was auditioning for Sister Wives or something. The act was so fake it was almost funny. The judge looked bored as hell before we even started. Jen's lawyer went first, spewing this bullshit about how she sacrificed her promising career to support me, how she managed our home while I built my business, how she deserved compensation for her contributions to the marriage. When it was our turn, my lawyer presented the evidence of her cheating, the pregnancy, the fact she was already shacked up with Eric. Her lawyer stood up saying, "Your Honor, let's not forget that we are in a no-fault state." He said it so smugly, like those 3 words erased everything she had done. While my client deeply regrets that her marriage did not work out, the law is clear. Marital misconduct is not a factor in determining spousal support. What is relevant is the financial disparity between these 2 parties. Hearing how casually this dismissed everything she'd done made me want to rip the whole damn courtroom apart. She cheated. She lied. She got pregnant with another man's child. And somehow, I was still expected to pay her for walking out on me? My lawyer tried to push back, laying out every bit of evidence again, emphasizing how she wasn't just leaving a marriage, she was securing a financial safety net while shacking up with someone else. But the judge just sighed, waiting for us to finish. When it came time for the ruling, he cleared his throat and dropped the hammer. While the court acknowledges Mr. Walker's concerns regarding his wife's infidelity, the law in this state is clear. Spousal misconduct is not a factor in determining alimony. Jen smirked at me from across the room. The judge continued. Given Mrs. Walker's financial dependence during the marriage and her current unemployment status, the court finds that she is entitled to spousal support. Mr. Walker will pay $4,500 monthly for a period of 4 years, or until Mrs. Walker remarries. $4,500 a month for 4 fucking years. To the woman who cheated on me and was carrying another man's kid. I felt like I was taking crazy pills. But luckily, my financial moves paid off. Kind of. Instead of getting stuck with a $6,000 monthly payment, the judge knocked it down to $4,500. Not great, but better than nothing. The best part? Jen and her lawyer had no clue about the cash I still had stashed away, or that my business would magically bounce back once this was all over. As we left the courtroom, Jen couldn't resist being a smug bitch. "Told you," she whispered as we passed. "Should have just agreed to my terms from the beginning." Then she had the balls to call Eric right in front of me. "Baby, it's done! We won!" She giggled like some teenager. "He has to pay." "I told you the judge wouldn't care about the other stuff." I said nothing, just watched her walk away, thinking she'd gotten away with the perfect scam. But the game was just getting started. I paid the first alimony check right on time. Didn't complain, didn't make a fuss. Even sent a polite email. Payment sent. Please confirm receipt. Jen seemed surprised I wasn't being a dick about it. Probably expected me to be bitter, to fight, to give her more ammo. Instead, I was playing the perfect ex-husband. Courteous, prompt with payments, distant but not hostile. She had no idea what was coming. See, Jen wasn't just a member of Harvest Community Church. She was their fucking poster child. Led the women's ministry. Organized their marriage retreats. Stood on stage during services talking about God's plan for holy matrimony. Her dad was a deacon. Her mom ran the Sunday school. The whole family had this perfect Christian image going on. And I knew they'd throw her under the bus the second they found out who she really was. I'd been collecting everything. The DNA test results. The time-stamped photos of her and Eric. Screenshots of their explicit texts. Hotel receipts. Even a recording of her mocking her church friends for being uptight prudes. That one was particularly juicy. I put it all in a nice professional folder. Added a cover letter that was super polite and formal. To the elders of Harvest Community Church, I regret bringing this to your attention, but as a fellow believer, I feel it's my duty. My former wife, Jennifer Walker, who leads several ministries in your congregation, has been engaged in behavior that contradicts your church's values. I've included documentation of her affair that began during our marriage, resulting in a pregnancy that is not mine, confirmed by DNA testing. Jennifer is now living with this man while collecting substantial alimony from me. I share this not out of spite, but out of concern for the integrity of your ministry. Respectfully, Michael Walker. I dropped the package off early Sunday morning when no one was around. Then I went home and waited for the shitstorm to hit. The Sunday after I dropped off my little care package at the church, I woke up to my phone blowing up. Text messages from mutual church friends. Dude, WTF, did you do? Pastor just called emergency elder meeting before service. Jen is losing her shit. I just turned my phone off and went back to sleep. Felt fucking amazing, not gonna lie. Later that afternoon, I got a voicemail from Jen. She was screaming so loud I had to hold the phone away from my ear. You absolute piece of shit. How could you do this to me? They kicked me out of women's ministry. My dad won't even look at me. You've ruined everything. I deleted it without calling back. Don't need that negativity in my life, you know? More messages followed throughout the week, each one more desperate than the last. Her church friends ghosted her. Her parents were taking time to pray about the situation. Church speak for, we're fucking disappointed in you. The Christian school where she volunteered asked her not to come back. Even Eric was getting cold feet. Apparently, he hadn't signed up for all this drama. He thought he was getting a hot wife with a steady alimony check. Instead, he got a social outcast with a baby on the way and a whole lot of baggage. By Friday, he'd kicked her out of his apartment. So much for true love, huh? A week after my evidence drop, Jen was summoned to a formal disciplinary hearing with the church elders. I know because she called me, sobbing, begging me to tell them it was all a misunderstanding. Mike, please, they're going to publicly discipline me. Do you know what that means? They'll announce it to the entire congregation. Everyone will know. They already know, Jen. That's kind of how church gossip works. My dad might lose his position over this. My family has been at Harvest for 3 generations. Should have thought about that before you fucked the youth pastor. She went quiet for a second. Then, in a small voice, he's not talking to me anymore. Who? Your dad? Number Eric. He said this is too much drama. That I misled him about the divorce being clean and simple. I couldn't help but laugh. So your soulmate bailed the second things got tough? Shocking? I have nowhere to go, Mike. My parents won't let me stay with them. None of my friends are returning my calls. Sounds like a personal problem. Can I come home? Just until I figure things out? The absolute nerve of this woman. It's not your home anymore, Jen. You gave that up when you decided to cheat. She started crying again. Big dramatic sobs. What am I supposed to do? Get a hotel. You've got alimony money coming in. Figure it out. Then I hung up. Cold? Maybe. But after what she pulled, my sympathy tank was bone dry. The church hearing happened Wednesday night. By Thursday morning, the news had spread through the entire community. Jen had been officially labeled an adulteress and removed from all church positions. The pastor gave a whole sermon about the sanctity of marriage and the consequences of sin, never naming Jen directly, but making it crystal clear who he was talking about. Her parents took a sabbatical from church leadership. Her sister postponed her wedding that was supposed to happen at Harvest. The entire family was basically in exile. And Eric? He'd already requested a transfer to another church location in a different state. Left Jen high and dry, pregnant and alone. All the while, I just watched from the sidelines. Didn't have to lift a finger. The community she valued most had done all the heavy lifting for me. See, The thing about small religious communities is that they're connected to everything. Jen's church downfall created a domino effect I couldn't have planned better if I tried. First, the private Christian school where she worked part-time suddenly had budget cuts and eliminated her position. The principal couldn't look her in the eye when he told her. Then her volunteer gigs started drying up. The crisis pregnancy center where she counseled young women decided her current situation made her a poor role model. The charity where she organized donation drives said they were restructuring their volunteer program. One by one, every part of her identity was stripped away. And I just kept paying that alimony check each month, right on time. 3 weeks after the church scandal broke, I got a text from our old neighbor. Jen's living in her car in the Walmart parking lot. I didn't respond, but I drove by later that night. Sure enough, there was her Honda parked in the far corner of the lot. I could see her silhouette in the driver's seat, illuminated by her phone screen. The next day, she called me again. "I lost my job," she said, voice flat. No tears this time, just hollow defeat. "That sucks. The baby's due in 5 months. No one will hire me. My parents still won't talk to me." I said nothing. "I've been sleeping in my car," she finally admitted. "I can't afford both a car payment and an apartment on just the alimony." "Sounds like poor financial planning." She exhaled sharply. "Is this what you wanted? To see me completely destroyed?" I thought about it for a second. "You know what? Yeah, pretty much. I was stupid. I made a mistake. I never meant to hurt you." I cut her off. "I don't care." She choked out a sob. I just wanted to say I'm sorry." I smirked. "Cool. Good luck with your new life." And that's when I decided to play my final card. Time to end this shit on my terms. "Actually," I said, keeping my voice casual, "I might have a solution that works for both of us." "What kind of solution?" Jen asked, suddenly alert. I could practically hear the desperation in her voice. "I'm getting tired of writing these monthly checks," I said, keeping my voice casual. "And my business is expanding. I'm looking at opening an office in Singapore. Might move there for a while." "What does that have to do with me?" "Well, international alimony enforcement is complicated. And I've been talking to a new lawyer who thinks we might have grounds to revisit the settlement based on some creative interpretations of the law." That was total bullshit, of course. But Jen didn't know that. And she was in no position to question me. "What are you saying?" Her voice had that edge of panic. "I'm saying I'd like to buy you out. One lump sum payment instead of monthly alimony for the next 4 years." Silence on her end as she thought about it. "How much?" she finally asked. $90,000. Cash. Tax-free. You sign a document releasing me from all future obligations, and the money's yours. Today." Jen had no clue I could afford that lump sum easily. The moves I made earlier kept a big chunk of my money safe, and my business was already bouncing back. She and her lawyer never found half of what I had. To her, $90,000 seemed like a lifeline, but it was less than half of what I'd owe her over the full alimony term. A massive discount. But to someone living in their car, pregnant and broke, it probably sounded like winning the lottery. I don't know," she stammered. "My lawyer said—" "Your lawyer isn't sleeping in a Walmart parking lot," I cut in. "And this offer expires in 24 hours. After that, I start the process to challenge the alimony ruling, and you get nothing while we battle it out in court for the next year or two." More silence. I could almost hear the wheels turning in her head. "Can I think about it?" "Sure. You've got until this time tomorrow." "Then I'm moving forward with the challenge." I hung up without waiting for a response. She called back 2 hours later. "I'll take it," she said quietly. "Smart choice. I'll have the paperwork ready in the morning. Meet me at my lawyer's office at 9 a.m. "Mike?" Her voice was small. "Thank you." I almost laughed. "Don't thank me, Jen. This isn't mercy, it's business." The next morning, she showed up at the lawyer's office looking like absolute shit. Dark circles under her eyes. Hair unwashed. Wearing the same clothes I'd seen her in through the car window. My lawyer had the paperwork ready. A complete release of all future alimony obligations in exchange for a one-time payment. I'd already had the cashier's check prepared. Jen barely read the documents before signing. When my lawyer slid the check across the table, her hands trembled as she picked it up. "So that's it?" she asked. "We're done." I nodded. "Completely done. I don't ever want to hear from you again." She looked like she wanted to say something more, but instead just nodded and walked out. As the door closed behind her, my lawyer shook his head. "You know, most guys in your position wouldn't have offered her anything," I told him. "It was worth 90 grand to be free of her forever." And I meant it. The monthly payments weren't hurting me financially, but they were a constant reminder of how she'd played me. Now I was completely cut loose. Free to move on without her shadow hanging over me. Besides, I knew Jen. She'd burn through that money in 6 months. Tops. And then she'd have nothing. No alimony. No job prospects. No backup plan. Meanwhile, I'd be building my empire, living my best life, and never looking back. I ran into her about 6 months later at a gas station. Didn't plan it, just one of those random things. She looked rough. Still pregnant, or maybe pregnant again? I didn't ask and didn't care. Driving some beat-up old Civic instead of the nice car she had during our marriage. She saw me filling up my new BMW and kind of froze like a deer in headlights. I nodded at her just to be civil, you know? She walked over hesitantly. There was awkward silence. Then she said, "How are you?" I shrugged. "Business is good. Life is good." She nodded, looking down at her feet. That's good." More awkward silence. "The money's gone," she finally said. "I had to pay off debt, and the rest went to rent and food." I just looked at her. "Not my problem." "I know. I don't know why I'm telling you this." I finished pumping gas. "Well, good luck with everything." I started to get back in my car, but she said, "I'm sorry, Mike. For everything. I really am." I looked at her for a long moment. Was it satisfying to see her like this? Honestly, not as much as I thought it would be. But I didn't feel bad for her either. Too little. Too late, Jen. Then I got in my car and drove away. Haven't seen her since. Things for me have been going pretty well. I met this amazing woman. She's fucking incredible. Runs her own marketing agency, works hard, plays hard, and doesn't play games or pull any bullshit. We moved in together 3 months ago. No rush to get married again. Once bitten, twice shy and all that. But I could actually see it happening someday with her. She's the real deal. I tried to stay out of Jen's business completely, but in a town this size, information travels. Plus, we still have some mutual acquaintances who occasionally drop info my way. That $90,000 I gave her? Gone in like 4 months. Apparently, she used some to pay off credit card debt I didn't even know about, got a cheap apartment, and blew through the rest trying to maintain her lifestyle instead of adjusting to her new reality. Classic Jen, never could budget worth a damn. She had the baby, a boy. Eric is legally on the hook for child support, but from what I hear, he's a deadbeat who's always behind on payments. He moved to Ohio like I mentioned before, and has basically nothing to do with the kid. Guess his calling to youth ministry didn't extend to his own offspring. Shocking. Jen tried to restart her teaching career, but her reputation followed her. No Christian school would touch her, and public schools wanted recent experience she didn't have. Last I heard, she's working at some call center making barely above minimum wage. The real karma is what happened with her family. Her parents eventually forgave her after about 8 months of shunning, but things are still super strained. They help with the baby sometimes, but are always making comments about poor life choices and living with consequences. Her sister keeps her distance, apparently worried Jen's reputation might affect her own standing in the church. Jen tried to rejoin the church community, but it didn't go well. They let her attend services, but she's banned from any leadership roles. Forever. She sits in the back and leaves right after the service ends. No more women's ministry. No more marriage retreats. No more social status. The ultimate irony? I heard from a mutual friend that she's been telling people she made a mistake and that she should have worked on her marriage. Too late. As for me, I'm doing better than ever. Business is booming. Relationship is solid. And I've started doing some stuff I always wanted to try but never had time for. Got my pilot's license, took up mountain biking, even started learning guitar. Lesson learned. Sometimes the worst shit that happens to you leads to the best version of your life. You just have to be willing to burn the bridges that need burning and never look back. So I guess that's it. Probably won't update on this whole drama since I'm honestly not thinking about Jen much these days. Got better things to focus on. Oh, and one final note. For anyone going through something similar, document everything. Take screenshots. Save texts. Get evidence. It might not help in court. Fuck no-fault divorce states. But information is power, and you never know when you'll need that power. Peace out, Reddit.